What's going on, guys? Back at it with another video. Today we're in Des Plaines, Illinois at Rockford Charity Games once again. It's at La Musa? I don't know. Some new banquet, but we're playing 1-2. Gonna buy in for the standard 200. And we're gonna see what types of interesting hands we get into. So let's head into this session. Let's go. We already decided to add on another 100 after losing a few pots, so now we're in for 300. In the first hand of the night, there's a button straddle, and we are in the small blind with ace 10 of hearts. Beautiful hand. We decided to open the action up, first to act, to $16. Sometimes I'll do 15 or 20, but I decided 16. The big blind makes the call, and then it is folded around to the hijack who makes the call, and the button straddler comes along as well. So we go four ways to a flop of 5-4 ace. Great flop for our hand. Top pair, decent kicker. Wish there was a heart or two for some backdoor ideas, but we're still loving life with top pair. So we go ahead and continue the aggression for $25. Big blind gets out of the way, expecting to see a lot of folds, but the hijack and the button both call. So I'm kind of concerned now, as we could easily be beat here. Now when the jack of clubs comes in the turn, I think this is an easy check to see what our opponents have to do. And now the hijack cuts out some chips and bets $50. Not feeling great when he bets 50 into two opponents, and even more so when the button decides to move all in. Now I think our decision is pretty easy. Our ace is likely no good, and even if it is good, I think our opponents are going to have a lot of outs against us, maybe some flush draws, or I don't know. I think I'm just putting them on two pair hands, but we ultimately decide to get out of the way, and luckily we did. The hijack shows pocket fives for a flop set, and the button shows pocket fours, and the button actually rivers quads. So, yep, we were in third place, like we knew it. Here we decide to add another 100 into our stack so we could play at our max capabilities. We also table change. So in this first hand at the new table, we look down at pocket tens. We are in middle position 1, and we raise to 12. And we get called by the cutoff, the small blind, and that one limper to my right. So we go four ways to a flop, and we flop the nuts. 9-4-10 rainbow. When the limper to my right decides to lead for $10, this could be a multitude of hands, a 9x hand, a 10x hand, queen jack, 7-8, trying to get to a cheap turn. So I don't want them to have a cheap turn. So I decided to min and a half raise to $25. With this, those other two limpers get out of the way, and my right makes the call. So we go heads up to a turn, which is a card that hits my range but doesn't hit me directly. So this could connect with the limper as well. So when she checks, I decided to continue betting, but I don't want her to fold away her marginal hands. So I decided to bet $25 once again, and she pretty quickly makes the call. So we go heads up to the river, which is the Queen of Diamonds, Queen of Hearts. With only about 80 behind, when she checks, I move all in, and she pretty quickly folds and said she had King 10. So flopping the nuts feels great. We take it down. In this next hand, you see that I raised to $20. That is because there is the button straddle straight ahead, and the big blind limped for 5, and I decided to open to 20 with my ace 4 of clubs. With my open, the under the gun 1, middle position, and the cutoff all call before the button straight ahead moves all in for 25 more dollars. Now when that big blind player to my right makes the call for 45, I'm not sure if I should be raising here again and putting in a 3-bet. I think a lot of my stronger ace X suited hands, or ace X offsuit, ace queen, ace king, ace jack, could just be a shove here to isolate that button opponent. But I decided to just put in the smooth call, which incentivizes the middle position and cut off the call, and the under the gun one player got out of the way. So we go 4 ways to a side pot and 4 ways to a flop of 9 ace 5, 2 diamonds. I think I should be c-betting this a lot of the time, but in this instance, multi-way, I don't want to get raised, so I decide to check it when it's checked to me from the big blind, and action actually checks through. So we see a turn, which is the 5 of diamonds. This card shouldn't hit me a lot of the time, but I honestly didn't see the front door flush coming in, and I led for 50, and when I lead for 50, all of the players get out of the way. So me and the button opponent are going heads up to the river for the main pot, and the river is the 3 of spades, and when I flip over my ace, we are good. So let me know about this hand, but we end up taking it down. In this next hand, we are in the big blind with pocket sevens. It's open from the hijack to 12. The cutoff calls, the button calls. Again, I'm not sure with these lower to medium pocket pairs if I should be 3-betting this with so much interest. Let me know in the comments about how you think I should play this. But flop comes 5-6 king. I check. Initial aggressor actually checks. Cutoff and button both check as well. So we go 4 ways to a turn, which is the 4 of spades, my money card, and I lead for 20. I have the open-ended straight flush and an overpair just under the king. But when I bet 20, the initial aggressor is the only caller. Cutoff and button get out of the way. So we go heads up to the river, which I'm pretty indifferent about. The queen of spades. This card hits him a lot of the time, and he could easily have ace X with the ace of spades, pocket jacks with the jack of spades, king jack with the king of spades, but I decided to do a little blocker bet of $20, and if I get raised, I'll let it go. And he starts cutting chips out, and I angrily fold, so let me know how you think I played this hand. I think he had a higher flush, but we'll never know, and he takes it down. In this next hand, we look down at 2 black nines on the button. It is limped by the middle position 1, hijack, and the cutoff. And I'm going to punish these limpers. I decided to raise up to $16. Could have gone 20, but being in position, I want some callers, and the middle position gets out of the way. Middle position 1 calls. Hijack and cutoff fold. And here's what the middle position had to say.
I'm just calling to get in the vlog.
Well, given that information, I'm not too scared. He could have a variety of hands, but when the flop is king deuce 8 and he checks, easy c-bet for me with 1 overcard, and I down bet to 15. I want to keep most of his hands in there to try to get some money in the pot, and with this 15, he decides to come along. Now the turn is the 8 of hearts, pretty good card for me. Well, he could have some 8s. I think he's going to let it have a queen jack, jack 9, jack 10, those type of hands with overcards, and I don't want those cards to get a free card, so I bet 25 and he calls. River is the ace of clubs. When he checks, I snap check it back, and he shows ace 8. Yep, that call to make the vlog worked. Nice hand, man. In this next hand, we started filming late with 6-4 of hearts, and we already see a flop, and that flop is great. King 3-8, all hearts, and the action is spewing already when Gerald in the under the gun 1 opens for 10, and now a rather tight player in middle position raises to 30, and I'm like, oh, can I fold the flopped flush? No, I'm not that good. So I call the 30, And now the small blind calls the 30, and Gerald gets out of the way. So we're still three ways to the turn, which is an inconsequential 9 of diamonds. Inconsequential because now I still have a flush, and that card doesn't change anything. Some two pairs get there, but I'm not really concerned. I have a flush. Now when that type player leads out for 50, I don't like my hand at all, actually. It was a limped pot, so I'm not discounting ace X from a lot of my opponents, but I feel like those hands would have raised pre-flop. So I'm kind of in a predicament here with my 6 high flush, but this player has been playing pretty standard all night, and I decided to flick these cards into the muck, and luckily I did. That player to my right had 10 deuce of hearts, and the small blind had ace 5 of hearts. So we dodged a big cooler there, and I'm glad with my laydown in this hand. In the hand of the night, we looked down at ace 10 of diamonds in middle position. It's limped by one player, and I open to 12. We get called by Gerald in the small blind and that under the gun limper. Now we go three ways to a flop of 7 deuce ace, miraculous flop. We have top pair and that nut flush draw. So when they check to me, standard c-bet to $15. I debated checking here because I want to give them some rope to catch up. But now Gerald in the small blind decides to raise to 35. In most of my experience, check raises are often sets. So alarm bells are going off in my head, but I have that front door nut flush, so I flick in the 35, and we go heads up to the turn, which is the 4 of spades. Once again, now as he's cutting chips out, I'm not feeling great about the situation as I do have 2 diamonds, so he wouldn't be doing this with the ace high flush draw. When he leads for 60, I'm not feeling great about my hand once again, but I'm still drawing to the nuts with that nut flush draw as long as it doesn't pair the board. So I think it's a pretty straightforward call once again, as he's pretty much repping pocket deuces and pocket sevens, and I make the call for 60. Now we go to a river which is not the best river, king of spades, or king of clubs. I could hit this card a lot of the time, so I'm expecting to see a check here, but what surprises me is he moves all in for $210. Just under a pot-sized bet. I probably should have done a little bit more calculating in my head as to the pot odds that I was getting and the type of range that he's representing. But I probably tanked for the longest I've ever tanked in a hand. It took me almost 2 minutes to decide what to do in this hand. But I'll let you guys hear what I'm thinking and my thought process, and now we'll go into the live game audio.
I want you to have this card. Did you see it? I can't tell if he's looking. Huh. Pocket twos? Turn like 6-5 of diamonds into a bluff. Sorry. Jack 3. Nice.
In the last hand of the night, we looked down at ace king offsuit in the small blind. Gerald opens to 35. You can see directly across. That looks like in middle position. And this is a perfect time for me to get some of my money back. I could easily just call, but we need our money back. So I decided to re-raise to $100. Probably could have sized up a little bit, but 100 it was. When it folds back down to Gerald, he says, "Is this where it goes down?" Is this where you get your money back? Is this the hand? Well, yeah, Gerald, I think it is. I think this is the hand. And you know it too, when you decide to move all in. Not my favorite spot, as I already committed almost 1/3 of my stack, probably like 25% if we're getting down to the math. But this is just never a bluff. I don't see many 1-2 or 1-3 players 4-bet bluffing, but at the end of the day, that bluff earlier that he showed me is in the back of my head, and I do not want to get bluffed again. So you can see where this is going. We decided to put in the call for like $350, $360, $370, and we decided to run it twice, and he flips over aces. My heart sinks. And we go to 2 boards, but it doesn't matter. We would have got it in on the flop anyway. An ace on the flop, the top board, and we would have rivered top 2. So I think that hand was pretty standard, and we lose the max. Nice hand, Gerald.
No bueno. That's the term I would use to describe tonight. I was in for 4, out for 0. That last hand, I think I should have got away from the ace-king versus aces. I mean, if I just smooth call the 35, we see an ace on the flop and he flops top set, and I don't get away from that regardless. So I think that hand was pretty standard. I think I could have just folded to that 4-bet. No one 4-bet bluffs in this game. But there were some other interesting spots, I think, tonight. Let me think. You'll hear about them in the hands, but stung a little bit tonight. I was on a little bit of a heater throughout the last few weeks. Yeah, that was my first 2 buy-in losses in a while. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop some comments as to spots that you think I could have played differently, or some feedback as to spots I played good. But that's going to do it for me. Thanks for watching, guys, and more videos to come soon. Also, go subscribe to my Instagram, brokerpoker_. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Peace.